Hello, my name is Fred Mullen. I'm a Cumberland County Master Gardener. We're here today to talk to you about raised beds, the advantages and the disadvantages of growing things in a raised bed. There are several varieties of raised beds, anything from a raised mound to a form of stacked rock. We have the new recycled Trex wood here, 12 inches up. Behind me there's a cement block raised bed. There's a number of varieties. You can use almost anything to raise a bed. I'll tell you why you need to raise a bed, especially in Cumberland County on this mountain. There's nothing wrong with our soil. Our problem is we don't have a lot of soil. We're very close to rock. So in order to improve that soil, a raised bed is the way to go. Several advantages of a raised bed is, in the spring, a raised bed will warm up quicker and it will drain quicker. While a lot of people in a traditional flat garden can't get in their garden and work yet, a raised bed owner can go in and work because it drains quicker and it warms up quicker, your seeds will sprout quicker, you can get to gardening quicker. Another advantage of the raised bed, you control the soil that's in the raised bed. You amend the soil, you put in here what you want, you improve the soil, and you're only improving it in the one small area. You're not improving the soil in a big vast garden. You're only doing it here. As you're building this soil and you're adding amendments to it, you're getting that soil to hold the moisture better. Our soil on the mountain is sandy. Sandy soil dries out very quickly. As you amend this soil and add your compost and all your amendments to the soil, you're creating a soil that will hold moisture and not dry out as quick, but it will also, there's one point I want to bring up, you can keep the soil too moist and open yourself up to fungus and other diseases. You need to let the soil dry out in between waterings. Don't keep it wet. The soil must dry out. The roots have to breathe oxygen as well as they need water. So be sure that when you're keeping your soil, you got to keep it in good shape and keep it from drying out. Once you build a raised bed, then what do I fill it up with? One of the things that is advised is basically a principle of thirds. You use 1/3 native soil, 1/3 compost, and 1/3 vermiculite. You mix this all together and you put it in the soil and put it in the box and fill the box up. This will create a very good growing medium for your plants. It will also improve the soil that we are notoriously in this area poor soil because we are so close to rock. This gives your plants an extra 2 feet, if it's 2 foot tall, an extra 2 feet of a good growing medium to thrive, and you'll have bigger vegetables and smaller and more vigorous vegetables. If you want to grow flowers, it's the same thing. These are all perennials. Once you get your box established and get it growing, there's one rule of thumb about raised beds, and that is you never step on the soil in a raised bed. If you step in that soil, you compact that soil, and that's one of our problems with our soil here is it's compacted. You keep the soil fluffy and light, you never step on the raised bed. When you build a raised bed, you'll always want to keep the area that you can reach across. In other words, this is 4 foot. I can comfortably reach halfway. If I go to the other side, I can reach halfway in. I never have to step into the raised bed to weed or to pull a vegetable or to do anything. Anytime you build a raised bed, you never make it wider than 4 foot. And a comfortable arrangement is 12 foot long. You don't want to build a raised bed that's 4 foot wide and 100 foot long. For one reason, if you are on this side and you want to go to the other side, you have to walk all the way around. So a good dimension for a raised bed is 4 foot by 12 foot, and out of any material you want. And you continually amend the soil every year. You add compost, composted manure. If you make your own compost, you can use it. But you're constantly rebuilding the soil every year, and you use very little fertilizer. The compost gives you all the fertilizer you need, especially if you're using composted manure. Another advantage of a raised bed, especially if you have a limited space, you can grow a lot more vegetables in a limited area, where if you don't have room for a traditional flat big garden with long rows, you can do this. Basically, you're concentrating your gardening area into a small area, and you can produce more crops. You can also successive planting. You can plant spring, summer, and fall just by planting different plants. When the spring plants are matured, you can put in a summer garden. When the summer crops are finished, you can put in your fall crops. You can also companion plant. Like here we have a tomato plant. Around the tomato plant, you can plant green onions that will grow quickly, and they will be out of the way by the time the tomato needs that area. So you can plant a lot more vegetables in a smaller area. A few of the disadvantages of a raised bed is first cost. As you can see, we got stacked stone, we've got cement block, the Trex wood, cedar wood here. This is expensive. Another disadvantage of raised beds is when you decide to go with raised beds, and say you put a raised bed here, here, and here, you can't expand that like you can a normal garden. A normal garden, if you got a garden here and you want to put some more corn on this side, you just till up another section of the yard and plant more corn. With raised bed, you're limiting the amount of space you have, and therefore it's hard to expand unless you go back into the cost and do it. Another disadvantage of the raised bed, in the fact that it drains well in the spring, it also dries out faster in the summertime. So you have to water just a little more often. Okay, we'll go into the materials to build a raised bed. A raised bed can be just a mound of dirt. Behind me back here, you see on this fence, this soil has been amended and raised, and that is a raised bed. There's no structure involved, but we have raised the planting area about 18 inches, which gives us more dirt for the roots to grow into. Over here is stacked stone. The same thing here. It's a small area, it's confined, but you can grow many things in a small area. Here we have just a 4x4 Trex material, which will not rot. We have a trellis for the cucumber and the tomatoes to grow on. And in this, we are using the principles of square foot gardening in the fact that we've got 12 square feet and we're using every square foot with something different planted in it, okay? This raised bed is basically a handicapped raised bed. This is to demonstrate for someone who has a bad back. One of the hardest things in gardening is weeding and bending over, and it's hard on your back. If you've got a bad back, gardening is not fun. This can also be lowered slightly and used in a wheelchair. Someone with a wheelchair can still garden successfully, and raise several crops. Here you see we've got tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, carrots, lettuce, onion, some more peppers. So this is another advantage to raised bed if you are handicapped. This can be put on your patio and used there. Behind me is just stacked cement blocks, leveled up, filled with a good potting mixture. And here we have a butterfly garden with a lot of different flowers in it. A raised bed can grow flowers, it can grow vegetables, no problem. And you have to water it this time of year. If you're going to build a raised bed and construct it out of blocks or something, it may be advisable to put your irrigation system in while you're building it. It's better to do it while you're in construction than trying to do it as an afterthought and try to do it later. One more type of raised bed, if you'll follow me over here. This is a very simple raised bed here. It's actually made with straw bales. We've actually made a kitchen garden out of this. It's got a lot of herbs in it. It's got tomatoes. It's got basil, a lot of herbs. And basically that's just bales of straw tied together with the things planted in the straw. And we've had this for 2 years. Every year we have to replenish the straw, but it grows a great garden. And it's raised, you do have to water it more often than not. There's a couple things I want to leave you with raised beds, and that is that you can grow crops spring, summer, and fall. You have to water it often. If we get rain, of course, you don't have to water, but you have to keep them watered. They do drain well. But the best advice I can give you, if you're going to get into raised beds, keep them full of plants the year round and keep them watered. And you'll do great with growing your plants in raised beds, improve your soil, and you'll have better crops. Thank you.